So, we have Left 4 Dead, Payday, Vermintide, possibly Evolve, all these games sharing similar core features, functions, and mechanics. Has Left 4 Dead created a whole new subgenre of video game? Hey, hi, how you doing? This is the Gamertron and welcome back to the Gamertron Show. So, yeah, with the release of Warhammer End Times Vermintide, and its obvious, very obvious inspiration from Left 4 Dead, and possibly a bit of Payday too, we now have 3 or more games if you count Evolve and a crappy indie game or 2. I believe we have enough video games carrying the Left 4 Dead formula to almost consider this a new subgenre of first-person shooter, or just shooter video games in general. We already have subgenres like the arena shooter, the tactical shooter, the realistic shooter, the multiplayer and single-player first-person shooters. While the Left 4 Dead shooter, as we're gonna call this subgenre in this video, I don't plan on officially naming this subgenre. I will leave that to the professionals and the far more intellectual than me. But I do think this is something worth talking about, this new subgenre that has kind of sprung up, and now has a few games under its belt with Left 4 Dead, Payday, Vermintide, and possibly Evolve. I say possibly Evolve, because Evolve is very different compared to the other Left 4 Dead shooters, but we will get more into that later. The reason I believe that the Left 4 Dead shooter is, and should be, a new subgenre in the first-person shooter genre itself is that, well, it's a unique brand, and it does something that a lot of people love. Like, why do people love Left 4 Dead and Payday, and are starting to love Vermintide, and of course Evolve? People love these games and love the Left 4 Dead shooter subgenre because these games are just great solo and co-op games, especially co-op. Unlike most shooters out there, these games require and encourage teamwork for you to get together with some buddies, coordinate with your team. A combination of brain power and twitch reflexes. Unlike in other shooters such as Call of Duty, Unreal Tournament, even Quake, where it's all about the twitch reflexes and the muscle memory, the Left 4 Dead shooter subgenre encourages you to engage with your teammates, engage with the other players, and not always try to be a one-man army. You have certain objectives, certain goals you want to complete, but you can only complete them working together as a team. And when the hordes of enemies eventually do show up, that's where the twitch shooting comes in. But even then, there is some teamwork involved with some special enemies. In Left 4 Dead, if you encounter a witch or a tank, the entire team has to work together to take it down. Focus fire, concentrate fire, else you will all possibly lose the game. Same with the bulldozers and the cloakers in Payday. And also same with the storm vermin and the rat ogre in Vermintide. And of course the monster in Evolve. While a great deal of video game players out there, myself included, love the one-man army feel, going in solo, being the badass, the hero of the day, top player as it were, it is also just as satisfying and just as unique and fun an experience working together as a team, because it makes you part of something bigger. It gives you a different feeling of accomplishment knowing that the team wouldn't have succeeded without you, and you wouldn't have succeeded without them. It can make for some great bonding moments between friends, or depending if you have a bad game and you're playing with players or friends who have a temper, some frustrating but memorable moments, let's say. Ah yes, memorable moments. Unlike in other multiplayer PvP games and single-player campaign shooter games, the Left 4 Dead shooter subgenre is a genre in which replayability is a big factor. And anyone who's played Left 4 Dead, Payday, Vermintide, Evolve can tell you replayability is a big factor. And what makes this subgenre so replayable is the AI and just the randomization of moment-to-moment gameplay and memorable random events. Whether you're playing solo or co-op against the AI and somewhat randomization of the levels allows for replayability of the same levels, but still having completely different experiences, unlike certain multiplayer games and single-player games, where you're usually going to experience the exact same thing with a few minor changes. With the Left 4 Dead subgenre, It's guaranteed that you can replay the same levels, same missions over and over again, but things will be wildly different in some ways. Items will be placed around the map differently. The AI will behave differently. You will encounter special enemies and encounter special events at different times. And depending on how you play these missions, these levels, how you replay them, and what strategies you decide to use in them, what weapons you decide to bring, what character you decide to play as, it's going to make for completely different, random, replayable, memorable experiences. And then there's the simple joy of the gameplay, the base gameplay, and just the plain simplicity of it all. When it comes to the games that can so far be found in the Left 4 Dead subgenre. In Left 4 Dead, you have the simple shooting and hacking away at zombies, hordes and hordes of zombies. Then there's being a super stealthy ninja thief, or cop-killing, mass-murdering mercenary in Payday. Then there's the uncomparable joy of hacking and slashing the heads off of giant rat men in Vermintide, and the satisfaction of taking down a giant killing machine in Evolve. The Left 4 Dead subgenre has a lot going for it. It has the emphasis on co-op teamwork, the emphasis on replayability, and the emphasis of simple, pure fun against unique enemies. Ah yes, the enemies of the Left 4 Dead subgenre, another thing that these games tend to focus on. Other AAA video games, AAA shooters, whether they be first person or third person, tend to almost overlook their enemies sometimes. And as I have stated in other videos, do not underestimate how important the enemies in your video game can be, especially an action game / shooter game. And that's another thing I really admire about this subgenre, is the focus on enemies and how important enemies are in the game. There is a great emphasis on the enemies of the game. Hell, they're one of the main focuses of the game. The zombies in Left 4 Dead, the cops of Payday, the Skaven of Vermintide, the monsters in Evolve. Very special detail and care and thought is put into designing these enemies and their AI, which makes these games require the teamwork, enable the replayability, and make them so damn fun. Okay, I might as well get this out of the way now, why I keep saying possibly Evolve, maybe Evolve, kind of excluding Evolve from the subgenre. It's just that Evolve does so many things different compared to the other free games I've talked about. Yes, it has that team of 4 players co-op that have to work together against a unique enemy threat, but here's the thing, in Evolve, the hunter characters aren't really fighting against hordes of enemies like in the other games. While there are certainly objectives around the maps aren't linear, or have a linear structure like in the other games. And also the monster character, while controlled by AI, is usually also controlled by a player, and it's more of a boss type character than a regular enemy type character or special enemy. Just saying why I think Evolve is a bit different. While it still kind of sorta fits into the Left 4 Dead shooter subgenre, it makes many strides that make Evolve almost sort of its own game too. But specifically focusing on the subgenre, don't misinterpret this video. I am not saying that these games, Left 4 Dead, Payday, Vermintide, are clones or copies of one another. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. This isn't a bad thing in the damn slightest. If anything, I want more games in this subgenre. I want more games like Left 4 Dead, Payday, and Vermintide. I would love to see more games in this subgenre. I would love to see a game in this subgenre focusing on the Aliens franchise with the Xenomorphs, playing as colonial marines against hordes of Xenomorphs. Or maybe another fantasy game like Vermintide that takes place in a fantasy universe, where you fight maybe hordes of demons, orcs, dragons, please be dragons. I really like this subgenre and I wouldn't mind seeing more games added to it. I mean, we've seen the success of Left 4 Dead, Payday, and Vermintide, and how popular these games are with the gaming community. There is no doubt that this subgenre is very popular, as all these games have become classics and have very strong and very active communities. So I say to the developers and the publishers of the video game industry world, please expand this subgenre, make more games using the Left 4 Dead formula. I love this subgenre. It makes great games. It makes great games. It's a great basis, a great starting point with great features and mechanics that's great for both co-op and single play. two elements that most gamers really love. Also, killing hordes of enemies, big plus for me. I mean, if we can have multiple shooters in the MOBA genre, the shooter MOBA genre, if we can get multiple games in the FPS multiplayer arena with multiple different colorful characters, yes, that's a subgenre started by Team Fortress 2 and now being represented with Overwatch and so many other games coming out. I mean, all these other shooter subgenres have so many games in them. I wouldn't mind the Left 4 Dead shooter subgenre. I'm actually getting really tired of saying that now. Get some more games added to this library, to this collection, to this selection. Alright, that's a video. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did like the video, please hit the like button. Hitting the like button helps you, helps me, helps everybody involved with the video. If you hit the like button, please leave a comment. What are your thoughts, feelings, and opinions on the Left 4 Dead subgenre and this video? What are your thoughts, feelings, and opinions? Please leave a comment. I love reading comments. I don't get nearly enough comments. Please leave a comment. And finally, I am the Gamertron. I love video games and I love talking about video games. And if that's something that interests you, maybe consider supporting my channel by subscribing to me. Anyways, guys, this has been a video, and I will see you guys later.